Hello, everyone. Welcome back to FPL Without Borders. We are back with another chip strategy special. Today, we'll be doing an ultimate FPL wildcard chip guide. Previously, we also did a free hit chip guide, so this is similar to that, but focused on wildcard. And the whole idea here is we are focusing not like this video is not just for this specific season. You can save this video, come back to this video later on for next season as well. The rules and the strategies we'll discuss here are evergreen, and to get up to basically set yourself up for the next 8 to 10 weeks, uh, you should sort of follow the strategies we discussed today. So yeah, this is our ultimate wildcard chip guide. If you like content like this and if you like the previous content as well, we do recommend you please drop a like. We are a very small channel and we do appreciate your support a lot. So without wasting a lot of time, let's get into it. So first of all, I'll quickly go through the topics we'll discuss today. Number one, what is a wildcard and how it works? So certain basics, FAQs that you need to know before you play the wildcard, and then wildcard strategy and chip combinations, effective wildcard strategy specifically for this season, and how to optimize your wildcard team, and generally common wildcard mistakes to avoid. So yeah, number one, what is a wildcard and how it works? Wildcard basically allows unlimited free transfers in a game week without any point deductions. So if you play a wildcard today till the game week deadline, you can do unlimited transfers, like literally unlimited transfers. FPL managers get two wildcards per season. So first wildcard you basically play before game week 20th deadline, which is obviously gone and you would have already played it. And second wildcard is now available for you to use. Once activated, it cannot be cancelled. And lastly, like a very quick difference between a wildcard and a free hit. Obviously, wildcard changes are permanent in your team, so your squad permanently changes. While in a free hit, after the game week deadline ends, your team reverts back to your original team. So yeah, very quick pointers. You probably already knew most of these, but just to have them on the top of your mind. So the best time to use your first wildcard, Puneet.
Yep. Um, this is something which we want to discuss very quickly because we have moved from the first wildcard is already gone, and we've. But before your next season starts, you should always have this in the back of your head. So we can move to that slide. So there are multiple strategies which you have to go. So the one of the best things that you have to understand about FPL is the fact that you have to be flexible, and you carry a certain people watch preseason, people keep an eye on all the players, and hence you go in with a team or a sort of set of 15 to 20 players that you would build your squad with, and remain flexible with how you want to use your wildcard. And wildcard is like kind of your get out of jail card in a way, which allows you to move very quickly into, hey, I can see that a certain players are doing well, the team balance is better, and that is where the early wildcard comes in. So the moment you understand, you've seen some pre-games or preseason games, you've realized that um, by game week 3, game week 6, game week 7, you are now have a certain idea as to what formation some players are playing. Is Salah playing left wing versus striker? Like there was a season with Klopp where he started playing striker instead of right wing, sorry. And so those kind of data points you will start getting. And if you are able to move quickly and you think that in the first 4, 5, 6 game weeks, like for example this game week, right? You if you remember, Haaland, everyone did not pick initially, but then they started seeing that people were like he was scoring against even the top teams. So then they had to move to him. What panned out, and then you had to make some changes. So wildcard was one of the best ways to get in. When do you use the mid-season wildcard? Is when your season is going in a pretty decent manner. You have like a few green arrows. You have set your team well, like 14, 10 to 12 players out of your 15 are fairly comfortable and you want to play them. That is when you sort of plan for, hey, I can move to 9 to 12. It's also a time when the fixtures change. So if the fixtures change, you kind of move from 9 to 12 or even closer to 18 or 19 um, when the second wildcard becomes active, or it's closer to December where a lot of fixture congestion happens. So mid-season or fixture-based wildcard is when people want to usually till 18, 19, you don't get so many double game weeks. Like it's very rare. So hence, if you see like a massive fixture change, like first 5 game weeks was terrible for Arsenal, then they became very good. Uh, then you kind of you use your first wild card at a later time. Just so you know, with the new rule that has come in this season, now this is for both wild cards, but even with first wild card, just remember that you can save up to 5 free transfers, and any transfers that you have saved before you hitting the wild card button will get moved on, or will you will carry those to the next game week after using your wildcard. We can move to strategy and chip combinations in that case. Now, this is primarily to make you understand as to what um, goes in the head of FPL managers while they are planning. Now, when you see the first set of fixtures, right, you do get the entire 38 game weeks, or around about those set of game weeks, although they are pencil marked. Like, you would know that some of them are likely to change based on how the teams do, how the teams perform. Like right now we are going through, uh, um, people are waiting to play the second wild card because there are some FA Cup games that are pending, which might help you know whether Arsenal or Fulham or Newcastle are receiving multiple game weeks or single double game weeks. So that's your that's your point number one to see when you use a wildcard. You use your wildcard to, one, maximize your double game week potential. Like, it is basic probability. If you're going to use that wildcard, you use it right before a game week, either 1 or 2 game weeks, so that during that double game week you can use it. Chips like triple captain. Now you can use chips like assistant manager, which has come in this season. So those are high returning chips which you can use in your double game week, to improve your double game week potential. Now, one of the most frequently used chips with wildcard has always been bench boost. Like, if you see historically, people sort of plan their wildcard closer to when they know that they will be able to use bench boost. Bench boost, typically people don't view it, but you have to see that it gives you the option to use 15 players together. So always have that as in your mind, that when you're using, you are likely to use bench boost in and around that game week, apart from using triple captain um, and setting up, even assistant manager as the chips that you can combine. What did we do with game week 29? Now this is comes to the next point. Game week 29, quite a few people actually used free hit, and the likes of Bruno and even people who had Haaland and Mamouche returned extremely, like, if not Haaland, at least Mamouche and Bruno were pretty decent returners. Now you could have only gotten to those players if you used your free hit this in this game week, in game week 29. Now that's another use case for wildcard, where you can use a wildcard to set up a free hit in a blank game week, and now you can see that people are moving to Palace players, to Fulham players, to Newcastle players, because they had set this up. Again, remember the transfer rules. You can save up to 5 transfers, and don't, like, with this 5 transfer. I feel the chips are now stronger. Like, your wild card is stronger, your free hit is stronger, and if you are stuck in any way and you think that, like, people had 4 or 5 players only before getting into game week 29, hence the best way for them was use a free hit and now plan for a wild card in 30, 31, 32, or even 34, so that you can have Newcastle and Palace and Fulham and all of those players, so that you can fix it later. And that's the last point. Like, if you have a team which is broken, which you can see, like, we were just discussing pre-pod that Saka or Arsenal players should we take, with the potential in Premier League is less. So if you have those players and you want to move on, it's an excellent way to move on, even if you're not tied to a double game week.
One quick point, like just to wrap up what you said, wildcard in itself is the most powerful chip, and it gets even more powerful if like you combine it with other chips in a
Totally.
smarter way, like you strategize it accordingly. So yeah, that's one point right there.
Yeah, always. Like, I think with whenever you see your gaming, I think it is a strategy, and you've rightly mentioned it's like a strategy and chip combinations. You never think of wildcard in singular pattern. Like, it's not like you're targeting 4 or 5 game weeks and only thinking of wildcard. You're thinking of other chips too. So that's a great point. Yeah.
Okay, I think we are now on the business end of the season, and I think it's time to actively discuss some potential chip strategies depending on your risk appetite and the number of chips you have left. So, we'll just take a quick look at a few of the strategies that may or may not apply to you. The first one, which we actually recommend, is to wildcard in Game Week 31. This is basically your build up for the upcoming double game week, and the fact that you're doing it after an international break and another game week, it just gives you more data. And like Puneet said earlier, there are some domestic competition fixtures left, and I think also your European competition fixtures are also right after the international break. So obviously, it'll give you more data into factoring in the major players that are guaranteed for minutes and starts to be in your wildcard team. You can use your triple captain in Game Week 32. I think the popular picks would be Isak and Mateta. As one of the fixtures, they both play each other and they both are attacking teams. So you can try to do that. You can then bench boost in double game week 33. I think this is a pretty decent game week for a bench boost as a lot of teams will be doubling. Again, we'll get more clarity as domestic and European fixtures go by. And lastly, you can free hit in double game week 34. I think Puneet mentioned earlier that a lot of the FPL managers used free hit in game week 29 just because of the fact that either they didn't plan accordingly or they didn't use their transfers accordingly into having like a sufficient 8 9 10 players for their team in game week 29. So we recommend, if you have these chips, if you have these uh, relevant chips remaining, you can try to structure your chip strategy accordingly. The other
One
two
quick one
strategies,
quick call out. Sorry,
yeah, yeah.
here it says free hit in double game week 34. It's actually blank game week 34. So a quick typo here. Yeah.
Okay, so strategy two, this is basically triple captaining in a smaller single double game week. For I think even though Palmer's out of sorts, but the Chelsea play Ipswich at home in game week 32. So just like that, you can maybe use a triple captain in a single game week, because we discussed earlier many times that triple captain is the least important chip. It's basically just down to luck. So not much thought should go into it. You can wildcard in gaming 30, which is basically right now. And just a quick point on it, that if you want to wildcard in gaming 30, you should trigger your wildcard right now so that you catch all the price rises and avoid all the price falls across the international break. And if you're wildcarding right now, you could just have like the last 7 or 8 game weeks in mind, so you can plan your team accordingly. Again, you could free hit in game week blank game week 34, and you can use your bench boost in either the double game week 33 or double game week 36. Both are rumored to be decent sized doubles. And lastly, this is a strategy where you will wildcard in game week 32, specifically if you want to attack Newcastle and Crystal Palace fixtures. You could probably have two of each or even triple of each, depending on how you wish to attack both teams. You can bench boost in game double game week 33, you can free hit in blank game week 34, and you can use your triple captain in game week 36. So I think Haaland would be a popular shout, depending on how the title race is going or what their priority is, because I think City would have good fixtures in that. Obviously, it'll be confirmed later on. So yeah, just a few strategies, you can try to tinker around with it. We recommended the FPL team app earlier, so you can just use that and see the fixture which are on the horizon and which strategy fits best to your team.
Yep. Well covered. Um, how to optimize a wildcard team. So a couple of pointers that you must sort of think about before creating your wildcard team. So number one is plan for the long term. Like 8 to 10 weeks generally should be the horizon you look at, not 1 to 2 fixtures. Obviously, like what we're recommending is game week 31 wildcard, which means you'll have like 7 weeks to like 7 to 8 weeks of planning. But yeah, generally plan for the long term, and which takes us to the point number two as well, which is target players from teams with good fixture runs, not good fixtures. So fixture, like looking at the fixture runs is very important. Like a player might have really good 2 to 3 next fixtures, but after that their fixture run might be really, really bad. So look at the longer term, because this is the last time you get to use, like this is the only time you get to use wildcard now, and tinkering would not be as easy unless you have saved up a lot of transfers. um, Balance premium assets with budget enablers. And reason being, so like if you add Haaland, Salah, Palmer, and then Saka in your team, the rest of your team will struggle a lot. So try to balance it with budget enablers who are nailed as well. And reason again being because you're looking at a 8 to 10 game week horizon, you need to focus on nailed solid FPL assets and not just racking up on a lot of premiums and then the rest of your team is very weak. So generally, try to manage the budget accordingly. Oh, my bad. And then obviously consider price changes. Uh, if you are playing the wild card, as Essen said, hit it early so that you gain the price rises and the price from the players that you are planning to get. It especially is applicable in earlier in the season, but even right now, it's always good to have like zero point 0.3, zero point 0.4 extra just by hitting your wild card early and getting the right players at the right time. And lastly, I think which is the most important point, especially for people wildcarding in game week 30 right now, there are FA Cup, there are international breaks. The players can get injured. Some players have international fixtures very close to their Premier League fixtures, and they also have to travel internationally. So that generally becomes an issue. Sometimes players get dropped because of that. Then obviously we have the FA Cup results, which are I think the most important thing to wait for, because based on those FA Cup results, we'll know exactly which teams double in 33 and 36 and which teams blank in 34. So be adaptable, monitor injuries, wait till you get more information is generally the whole thing we keep repeating on, but it also is the most important because having more data is more important than playing a wildcard early to save some money on your team value.
Just one.
Puneet, your mic is there's some issue.
Um,
Okay, so moving on.
Yeah. Okay. So, lastly, given the fact that we've discussed all of this so much, it's important to note just a few points or the common mistakes that you can avoid, just so that you can, do your best to optimize the wildcard, as Arsalan said. Uh, Using it too early with enough data. I'll just go back to what Puneet said that there was an initial phase of using your wildcard in game week 3 to 6. You can use that. I think the main reason you would want to use that is the first draft, the first squad you set up when Game Week 1 started. Maybe you did not do it correctly. So that was the reason why you would want to pull it so early. But too early would just mean that you don't have enough data on which players, which formation managers opts for, how many players are playing out of position, which you would want to capitalize on. Like I remember at the start, people went for Nkunku a lot, including me, because he was only 6.5 million, and he was listed as a midfielder. But we saw that in the first game only he was substituted before 60 minutes. So that just becomes a problem. So just one to keep an eye on. Similarly, overloading and on short-term fixture instead of long-term planning. The wild card, the fact that it's only available twice a season, goes to show how long-term it actually is as a chip. It's not just, for example, you see three good fixtures, you decide to wildcard and get those teams in. It's actually for a longer term, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, a minimum 6 to 8 weeks, because now you have 5 free transfers, so you can actually use the wildcard for like 6 to 8 weeks and sort of save your transfers also. So just give you that extended 10 to 12 or maybe 14 game window. Ignoring blank gaming, double gaming schedules. Right now, as we discussed earlier, you have a blank gaming 34, you have a double in 33, you have two teams doubling in 32, you have a double in 36. So if you ignore all of these major game weeks, it'll it'll show you it surely help you. It won't help you to gain rank, because you'll see other seasoned FPL managers using this wildcard chip correctly. They would optimize their team, optimize their points. That's why this is known as the business end of the season. So just be smart with your chip strategy, especially wildcard. As Aslan mentioned, not balancing your squad depth properly. 8 to 10 proper nailed 90-minute assets are a must, but like he said, that you can't have all the premiums. You must stick with one or maybe two premiums at the risk of compromising your squad. I remember at the start it was a No Haaland, no Salah draft. Haaland only draft. Salah only draft. So just have to try and match it with your risk appetite and your approach as to how you generally play FPL. And lastly, forgetting price change strategies, selling rising assets too soon. I think this point applies in Game 29 the most, where a lot of people sold Isaac to Haaland, but maybe they didn't realize that they bought Isaac when he was probably around 8.5, and now 8 or 8.5, and by the time they sold him, he had crossed 9 million. So you do have value tied up in assets. Similarly with Salah also. So just have to factor that in. That if you're selling a player for one game week and you're wildcarding him and you're using a wildcard to get him back in, I think that's just a waste of transfer and team value. So just try to be smart. Sit down, jot down your potential wildcard, and then trigger it so that you, because as stated earlier, once you trigger it, cannot be cancelled. So you have to be like 110% sure that the game week which is coming, you want to use your wildcard for.
Yeah, just a point here that you know, on your not balancing squad depth and the overloading on short-term fixtures. I think a lot of people enter the wild card thinking that it will help them in the short term without thinking about, and it will, but it also, you need to think about, hey, there are some assets which I can move in the next 3 to 6 to 7 game weeks, which will, one, help me balance my team in the long term, and help you balance the squad appropriately. So hence the point, the second and the fourth point are very important, because you don't take a wild card just because you want to, it's never going to help you jump rank very quickly. It is something that is going to help you sustain and gradually have multiple green arrows in the long term. So think like that. I think that's a very important call out.
Puneet, one more thing. I think with wildcard, I think I was reading somewhere quite some time ago that, for example, whether it's your first game week or whether you're wildcarding, I'll categorize the players into three categories. For example, if you're deciding for a midfielder, you have the likes of Saka and Palmer, which are premium. You have the likes of maybe Bruno and Mbomo, which are around the 7.5, 8 million mark, and you have your enablers, the Enzo, Harry Wings, etc., etc. I think taking them out, if after wildcarding, I think each category should deserve a different time period. It should not be the same for
Correct.
everyone. Like and it can be both ways. For example, if you're getting a premium midfielder in, I think they should be given more time, so that they can prove the return. But at the same time, if you are of if you are a more aggressive FPL manager, you could opt to maybe take them out for 2 3 game weeks. Like Palmer to Saka right now, is it might become a very popular move, given the fact that Palmer was injured, didn't travel for the international games, and Saka has been pictured back in training. Similarly, maybe Mbomo, Bruno types of midfielders can be given a few extra weeks, and enablers can always be benched. Like those who did not have many free transfers, they can just choose to bench Dango, even though now we know he's not starting. So having patience with your premium assets, with your enablers and your mid-tier midfielders. The same goes for defenders and attackers, obviously. So I think it's important. It would obviously save your free transfers. And the last point, which we wrote about your price change strategy, it would help you save a lot of team value also.
Yep. I think that basically mostly covers our content. A well-planned wildcard can 100% define your season, and it's again the business end of the season. So you need to use them. By them, I mean like pair it with the other chips as well for maximum impact, and obviously stay updated with the fixture changes, etc., etc. One thing before we leave, I'll quickly SN shout it out as well, but use tools that exist to sort of plan in a better way. FPL.team is one. We don't get any money for them, but it's it's a really good tool. So what you can do here is just load your team up, and then go to the like plan your team according to all the future game weeks. So in 33, if you're expecting a double, so it hasn't been updated here because the fixtures haven't been announced. But once they get announced after game week 30 deadline, you should be able to see how your team looks in the blank and in the double game weeks as well. So do use tools like this or live FPL or any other tool. Doesn't really matter. Uh, to sort of your advantage, and yeah, plan for the next 8 to 10 weeks. Basically, like if you're wildcarding now, you should plan till game week 38. And obviously, if you have a free hit, you can use that whenever. But apart from that, your wildcard team should mostly cover everything you need, and obviously your free transfers as well can be used. That's all that we have for today, guys. If you like this content, do please like and subscribe. Again, we are a very small channel and we do appreciate the support. And if you like content like this, we have a free hit chip guide as well, and we'll be coming up with triple captain, and other chip guides as well. So bench boost. So yeah, give us a follow, and we'll see you in the next video.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
You all.